Hey, it's Matthias now out of the Gronau office, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the new functionality for Modbus that we get available for the new release of the firmware 2.0 with the AMS Asset Monitor by end of this month, means end of May, early June timeframe 2021. So with that, you need to know that with the Asset Monitor, we're now having a Modbus interface additionally available to the OPC interface that we already had earlier. So with this interface, it's quite easy. You see that from the one part, you just need to browse into your box from IP address, connect to your Asset Monitor, move into the configuration of the Modbus settings from General's perspective, and there you're able to easily specify which parameters should be listed up from your individual mapping for the input registers, which are read-only as you know, or the holding register ranges that are read and write, or include all the read and write parameters. So the holding register ranges also include the read-only registers, since there are a few third-party devices available from the market that do not support input registers. And for that reason, we made them available, the read-only registers available from the holding register range as well. But now let's have a look into our Asset Monitor, what it means when looking to the configuration itself. So for seeing and for doing the configuration of the fully flexible and individual Modbus mapping that we now have available, we're moving into the dashboard view of the Asset Monitor itself by just connecting it from the browser and going to the system section over here that I'm pointing out. And from here you see that we have this configuration button, which means a system-related configuration where the Modbus and OPC interfaces relate to. So with pressing the configuration button, you see now from the bar of interfaces that we have those values for Modbus TCP, these parameters. And by clicking on the bar and on the arrow down, you see the first thing we need to set up is the server setting, which only means we need to decide from which interface, if it is from which LAN port the Asset Monitor needs to provide the Modbus information finally and allow the communication to Modbus. And we're only checking the boxes here for LAN and ACN, that are the two different ports that we have available from hardware perspective, and have opportunities to do the configuration from server perspective as well, with write response for unmapped registers and read response as well. So now talking about the write and read already here, you see that we have those two more sections with input registers and holding registers. So what you definitely should know, input registers are those read-only registers that can only be read. So it's only provided by the Asset Monitor, but you're not able to drive any value or change any of those input register values to the Asset Monitor itself for controlling anything inside of the box. So from input register perspective, you see when pressing onto here that we have no data filled up, as this is only fully flexible mapping we need to do now. So that means we're pressing the new register button at the early beginning, and you can enter a data point if you have one specifically in mind, but more easy it would be to press the browse button. And from the browse button, you see that we have a full list of all available parameters inside of the Asset Monitor listed up. So it's multiple pages, as you see. It's showing 10 per page, but I can say it should be one page only, and showing all from one page that you can scroll down. Further thing you may do is, if you're searching for something specific, so you can also use the search button over here with, for example, saying health and pressing enter, and it should only show the health related or all those parameters that include health within the name of description for the bearings, the rules that are activated. You see that this is an opportunity. And for doing the decision, and now like to see the full view again, for doing a decision which parameters needs to be identified and stored into the Modbus structure, you can already click the full bar. So with that, you will import everything into our Modbus mapping range, or you can do an individual decision. For example, if we're focusing on the fan, we'd like to know what the fan asset type is, what its status is, what about the health, some text description fields, some summary recommendation text, and so on and so on. So choose whatever you prefer to make available from the Modbus perspective from the input register ranges. And finally, after you have checked all the boxes you require, you go to OK, and add those registers, and you see that they have now been shown from the list. So this is exactly what you need to do for the input register range, and as said, those are read-only. It tells you the address, how to reach any of those parameters. You can change that, you can modify that. So I could, for example, go to address number 50 by just clicking here or entering it manually. So you see, now it is address number 15 where to reach the summary recommendation text from. So that's fully flexible over here, and you can easily check the boxes from the overall table to move that into the input registers. Now, as said, additionally to the input registers, we're having our holding registers, and when moving to the holding registers, you see that there is a second list that can be filled for having all the read and write registers available here. Now, with pressing the new register button here, the procedure is identical as that. You can press the browse button again, and you see the full list. You can filter that, you can choose what to be shown. I'm showing just everything and moving down a little bit. So you can see there are some registers marked with read only, and the reason for that is that some third-party devices only support holding registers. They're not able to manage the input register ranges. And for that reason, we have decided to make the input registers, the read-only registers, available from the input holding register range as well, in addition to the input registers, where you can find all of them as well from. Now let me move down, and I'm just searching for one parameter that might be read and write within my box. And you see most of them are read. For sure that the input registers are much more than the holding registers are. And well, let me scroll down. Here we have one external, it's a test, it's a data point. So the external data point where we can send data into the asset monitor. And by just clicking the box and saying, okay, I'm moving that now into the table for the holding register ranges. This is a read-write register. And you can do the addressing individually as well. You can have the lengths fixed. You see the name and description of this parameter from here. And finally, after having set up the input registers, the server, and the holding registers, just press the Save button, and your mapping for the Modbus is completed. So this is exactly how you can specify which data to be provided from the Modbus interface. And if you don't have any needs and just would like to make everything available, you can just check the boxes for import or available registers, and you will see that from the table view in the configuration overview as well. All right, hope that helps a bit, and have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.